Howdy, everybody, and welcome to the channel. And today we have a special guest, Farmer Son Prepping, coming at us
Well,
live from the other side of the country. So, how have you been, man? What's going on?
been good. Been cutting grass today and doing the whole yard stuff. The Lord give us a little window of opportunity amongst all the rain we've been getting. So, just been cutting grass, and other than that, not a whole lot.
No, that's understandable. Now, you guys have been getting the opposite weather from us because we've been over 103 for a week. We've been between 102 and 103 and one town was 116 up in the hills here. You guys haven't been that hot, but you're getting a lot of rain, right?
Yes, we're getting a lot of rain. We've been in low to mid 90s. That's where we've been kind of hanging out, low to mid 90s, and just getting some rain here. About the last 3 days, we've been getting some rain. So we need it.
Yeah, we need the rain too. We haven't had good rain in a while. So but well, folks, what we're going to do, we had a couple of ideas which way to go. We're going to kind of talk a little bit about gardening and here's some thoughts from Farmer's Son, but then also we're going to talk about food prep. I mean, we all know it's going to get worse before it gets better. So we'll throw some ideas around. What can we do now to help us later on? So I guess so you actually have gardens where you're growing food, right?
Uh, uh, my dad normally plants our big garden plots for the whole family. I call them our gardens
Yeah.
because he plants them with a tractor and he does it the way he knows how to do it. I actually started planting my own stuff this year for the first time, like germinating it from the seed. So I've
Right.
learned a little bit about germinating from seeds this year.
Okay, and
Because
you're
he's
doing
he's
them.
normally he's normally the guy that plants it. I'm normally the guy that picks it.
I got Yeah, well, he has that privilege because he's the old guy.
That's right.
He gets to drive the tractor. So y'all have a larger plot of land, and then he'll seed and plant for all of y'all, and then y'all manage your sections.
Yes, yes. Me and my dad and my sister, we all live on a connected property. It's
Okay.
roughly 180-ish acre amount. Quite a little piece of land. I have 9 acres that is already mine. I've already bought that from him. My sister has land that she has already bought, but it is all connected to Dad's land. So we feel like we all live on one piece of property, really.
Okay, so yeah, and that helps, and that's interesting. Y'all do it that way, because that's almost like a community plot. Is it on? It's acres. I'm assuming it's not a small plot then.
Yes, yes. 9 acres is what I have. My sister's got 4 or 5 acres and a big, nice house. So yeah, I mean, me and my sister convinced Dad to do that. I'm like, who else would you rather sell to? This is family property. This is property that's been passed down to him from above his generation. So, and
Right,
we convinced him to do that, and so it's kind of it'll all be mine and my sister's, when that day comes. But right
right,
now,
understood.
most of it is his. Yeah.
So, fertilizer, are you guys seeing that increased, or are you finding another way around dealing with the fertilizer prices and
Well,
shortages?
we've been using chicken litter, but even that, I mean, like the fuel costs and all to get it scooped up, and it's even with the fuel costs, it's going up just to do that. Fertilizer trucks are having to ask a little bit more money because
Right.
the fuel situation. So yeah, we've been trying to go the cheap route with fertilizer and that type of thing, but and that's mostly on the hay fields, by the way. The chicken litter's on the hay fields. Uh,
Right.
we're using, I think Dad has triple 13 is what we're putting on the garden. So, and yeah, that's very expensive.
Wow, I can imagine. So do y'all have animals too? Chickens, goats, anything?
Yes, Dad has chickens. He has laying hens. He's also got some sort of registered breed of chicken. He told me what they were, and I don't forgot. But we also have cows. We instead of selling our cows, we've just reverted to the old way. Fatten them up,
Yeah.
slaughter them, put them in our freezers, because you just can't make any money selling beef right now. Somebody's making money on it, but it's not us. So
No, and y'all don't sell to the public at this point.
no, no.
Okay. Because I know out here we've had a few ranches who actually some of their herd they will cull and they'll sell to the public. And now they're coming to town. They're coming direct to the city. Oh, it's a little
That's good.
city, but they're coming to the farmers markets, the gun shows with the freezer full of pre-made beef, and they sell out every time.
That's good.
But so for someone say like me, where I just went from a very wet environment, right, down in Houston, right off the Gulf, and you could plant a rock in the ground and it would grow. And now I'm up here, I'm at 2,800-foot elevation, and it's super hot and super dry. Or even if they're near you and they want to start a yard garden, what would you recommend they start with, like, far as trying to figure out what to do?
Well, first of all, I would say start a compost pile, because that's going to save you a lot of money on soil. Uh,
Okay.
you know, how I started mine was I've got plenty of leaves and pine straw out here. I raked up a big, huge pile of leaves and pine straw and just started wetting it down like once a day. Wet it down,
Okay.
and you know, I threw my eggshells, and most of the dogs get the food scraps, but you know, anything, eggshells, that type of stuff, throw it in there,
Right.
crunch it up. That'll save you a lot of money on soil. So I would say start with that first. And then, you know, I've been learning this year how to germinate seeds. And I tell you what I have learned. If you want 10 plants, you better plant 50 seeds, because there's a lot of failures when you're trying to
Okay.
get seeds to grow. Yeah.
Okay. So when you do the compost pile, are you doing it in like a bin or some kind of box? Is it just open air or?
It's just open air. It's just a pile uh, over there. I've got it. It's in the shade where it's at. That's just where all the pine straw was. There was no scientific
Okay.
reasoning for that. But I just went out there and raked up a huge pile of dead leaves and pine straw and started wetting that down with a water hose. And I'd go out here and turn it every now and then with a shovel or whatever. Just turn
Okay.
it, and it'll start doing what it's supposed to do pretty quick after that.
So it starts getting scentful, I guess, after a point.
Oh
No?
yes, everything starts to decompose. Yes,
Yeah.
not the best smelling thing to have in your yard, no
And so
doubt.
you'll put that in, for instance, if I was doing a raised garden, I could put that as a layer in the raised garden.
Yes. What you could also just put the dead leaves and pine straw, the undecomposed ones. You can like do them for a base layer,
Okay.
like the very first layer in there, and then do like your soil from your compost, or add potting soil, whatever you want to do.
Right.
Uh, I'm just trying to get out of having to pay exorbitant prices for multiple bags of pot soil, because that stuff is not cheap anymore.
No, well, nothing's cheap now. So, folks, before the show, we were talking about the price of diesel right now, and
Yeah,
it's in everything. So, hearing from someone who has a farm, a family farm, and y'all work it, that's valuable. So, for instance, the chickens, you all have some chickens. Are they on a large section of the land, or can you grow them or grow them, breed them and have them exist in a smaller area? How much space do you
we
need
we
for?
have I forget what Dad calls it, but he's got like a smaller cage for like when we have chicks or whatever to grow the chicks up.
Okay.
But he has built the Fort Knox of chicken pens, and I mean, he had like the lean-to part, the backside of a barn. We built a gigantic lean-to, and I think it's 40 feet long, and
Okay.
it's a foot long chicken pen. We have dividers in there in case somebody doesn't want to get along. We can divide them into different pens.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so
So you actually,
Because
so you,
that way, when the chicks get too big to be in the little bitty thing, we can
right.
transfer them over into the regular pen, but just keep them away from the bigger chickens.
Okay, because they'll challenge each other,
Oh, sure.
and
Yes.
there'll be a beatdown of a chick or two.
They'll get trampled on. Chickens
Right.
are stupid.
Yeah. My son bred FFA chicken. He did a bunch of broilers, and he had some of the show chickens. I don't remember what they were, the little poofy headed roosters and
Yeah.
whatnot. And some of them were actually rather smart, but those broilers were dumb as rocks. That's them and squirrels.
You can actually take a chicken, hold his head down in the dirt, and draw a circle around him, and he won't leave the circle. Like, he won't understand what just happened. It's a. I mean, they're. I've done that. I used to do it just like newcomers would pass by, and I'm like, watch how dumb this chicken is. And I'd stick his head in the dirt and draw a circle around him.
So
And
so they will
he's
drown in a good rainstorm.
yes,
Is that true?
yes, chickens can drown. Yes.
Because my son told me one of his chicks drowned in the water feeder, and I said that's not right. The animal can't be that dumb, but apparently they are.
They're very dumb. They're very dumb.
So I take it you get eggs because you mentioned eggshells in the compost pile, so you get all these
Yes.
eggs. Um,
Yeah, Dad's got. I think he's got. I think it's like 17 or 18 laying hens, and then he's got all these dresser chickens. He actually breeds them, takes them to flea markets, and sells them for whatever breed they are, and sells them at flea markets and that type of thing.
okay.
Because they're a registered chicken, they get like more money for whatever. I'm not really big on what all he does with the registered chickens, but I know he does have both.
Okay. So how many so per chicken, I don't know, this is kind of an odd thing. How many eggs would you expect if I had, say, 4 chickens in a little plot of land and they were
Well, it
well
depends
taken
on the
care of? How
age.
many
It
eggs would I
depends
get?
on a lot. Yeah, it depends on how old they are and all that type of stuff. But
Okay.
2 or 3 a day. You know.
Okay, so you'd have a steady stream of production, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's really cool. So you have these harvests, the family harvests, and I guess, folks, we were also talking about going into a little the food prep. So I'm assuming you guys harvest and plant different things year round, and you leave some of the land fallow to rest it
Yes.
or cross plant, depending on what it is. So when you
Yeah.
go ahead.
All that actually comes from the Bible. Yeah, the Bible will actually tell you when to leave. I think it's once every 7 years you're supposed to leave. Like, if you had your garden spot in the same place for 6 years, next year you need to move it, because you all the nutrients are going to be consumed over those 6 or 7 years that you've been there, and so you're going to need to change it out, periodically.
Okay. And see, that's cool. So you've once you harvest, um, I take it you might bring some to market if you have extra, but what are you all doing with the are you doing canning, dry canning, dehydrating, kind of a little of everything?
We do, yeah, a little bit of everything. My stepmother, she does most of the canning. As far as the pressure canning goes, I do dry canning with the food saver, that type of stuff.
Right.
I'll go and use Dad's. Dad's got 2 or 3 dehydrators. I'll go up there and like put me some. If I want some for my house or whatever, I'll go up there and use his dehydrators and dehydrate something, and then I'll put it in the jars and dry can it with the food saver. But we give stuff away. Dad always plants enough so we can give some away. And farmers have traditions. Uh, it's tradition around here that if you don't give your first fruits away, as according to the Bible, you won't have a very good production that year.
Right.
So we always give our first fruits away. Whether it be, a little half a bucket of peas or whatever it is, we give that stuff away, and then we'll get what comes in after that, start harvesting it for us.
Right. And there's a lot to the Bible aside from faith. There's a lot of common sense instruction
Yeah.
in the
Oh yeah,
scriptures about how the ancient people did things to make
yeah.
the crops or make the harvest the way they wanted. And I think we've lost a lot of that in the last, what,
Boy,
since World
have
War II.
we have lost? Yes, lost a lot of that. Uh, I could just go down a rabbit hole on that one, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we might have to have another video about lost arts,
Yeah,
because folks don't appreciate. I guess the community, the prepper and homesteading community, understands it, but
yeah,
a lot of people walking down the stores in the cities don't understand the importance of
right.
it.
And we still have older folks in our community here that will not take unless they bring something in exchange. They're so used to bartering.
Right.
Dad will say, "Hey, if we've got some tomatoes, come down here and get you a bucket full of tomatoes." He may tell them to come pick them or whatever.
Yeah.
But they'll come and pick tomatoes and they'll leave potatoes or something,
Yeah.
for us. So yeah, there's a lot of older people in our community that still won't just take. They know better.
Yeah. And we have friends who are homesteaders even out here, because surprisingly in West Texas, watermelons and zucchinis in the fall, they do great. Broccoli, you
Yeah,
wouldn't think in this dry environment, but they really do well. But usually folks will tell us, hey, come over and we got, whatever, a bunch of zucchinis and squash, and I'll bring a bottle of wine because it's always, it's that same tradition.
sure.
And it's, I guess there's something to be said for that kind of community,
Yeah, nobody wants to go to the church social empty-handed. It's a potluck. A potluck is a potluck. You bring a pot with something in it. That's just how we were. That's how I was raised, and I know that's how Dad and them were raised as well. You just didn't. If you were invited somewhere, you did not show up empty-handed. Yeah,
No, no. And even now, you go to someone, even if it's a Christmas gathering or you're just going over for, I don't know, snacks, or I still bring something, even
yes,
if it's chips and dips, a little bottle of wine. It's just something for the home.
some
Uh,
finger sandwiches.
yeah.
Something. Yeah.
So, okay, so you have acreage, right? I'm stuck in a subdivision for now, but at least I have a yard, and at some point I'll put a little garden there. But what about folks who say are living in an apartment or maybe a townhome where they may have a little yard or maybe a patio? Any suggestions, stuff they can do? Because I guess anything they grow means they don't have to buy it.
Well, I lived in an apartment for 10 years, so
Okay.
I have some experience on that. Uh, your first step would be talk to your landlord, see if it's okay to put that type
That's
of
a good
stuff.
point.
Uh, Especially like Section 8 housing, they have stiff rules. Uh, so they may let you have that type of stuff on your back porch, but not on your front. So just check with them. And then if they say, "Hey, that's fine," it just don't let it look snaky looking. Because I remember I got told I had stuff on my porch, and all your flowers look snaky looking. You need to clean that up. So, uh, but yeah, once you get the okay from them, then you can just do some containers, do you a couple of tomato plants. If you eat tomatoes, I particularly do not. But plant what you like to eat. It's the main thing.
Or something you can at least use or someone can use.
Something
So,
you can add to your diet. Maybe try an herb garden at first, or whatever. Things you can add to what you may already have on.
right. And that makes a heck of a lot of sense. And so when you grew in the apartments, did you just do little pots? Did you do a longer, kind of like a long
I didn't
garden?
do. All I had was flowers in the
Okay.
apartments. I didn't do a garden there, but
Anything edible?
no, I didn't do anything edible there. Times were a little bit different back then. We weren't scared that the food was going to run out. So
Yeah.
I wasn't exactly woke back then. Let me put it that way.
No, that's fair. So before everybody, before the show, farmer son and I, we were chit chatting, and one of the things we're talking about is how economists, and I think who mentioned it? Was it Angry Prepper or Magic Prepper? One of the big channels also. Rudy did, Alaska did.
Yeah.
That all the economic people you see on YouTube and social media that normally talk about mortgages and investing are now literally saying, take $50 a week and go buy extra groceries because something bad's coming.
Yeah.
So
I noticed that Glenn Beck was telling people to prep because
really,
I watched his show,
mhm.
and he was literally on there telling his people on his podcast, "Hey, I'm telling you, go buy food right now." So some people are waking up, and some people just aren't.
So for those of us who are trying to get ready, and you and I chatted about this earlier, what would you recommend folks do if, because ideally, if a whole neighborhood, even a subdivision, did victory gardens and everyone just planted their front and backyards, people would have food,
Absolutely.
like we did during World War II. But you and I both know not everyone's going to do that.
Right.
So what would you tell someone who's just saying, holy cow, I just realized what's about to happen? Where do I start? What would you recommend to them?
Start small. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed.
Good
I would
advice.
start out buying like two or three different. Just add two or three different canned goods, whatever it is you already picking up. If you're already picking up corn or spam, just pick up two extra. Every time you go, pick up
Mhm.
two extra. Those two extra will turn into a flat eventually.
Yeah.
And then you just keep doing it, small increments. Anybody that's been on my channel that watches my little, I call them micro hauls, I
Mhm.
just do a little bit at a time. I don't have the money to go and do giant hordes of food, nor would I want that many people seeing me filling my buggy up like that. But because you have to have some OPSEC, too. So I do it small, do it a little bit at a time. Buy the things you like. Don't get stuff you won't eat. Uh, and I would start off with canned goods and dry goods. Those flour staples, things you have to have, sugar, tea bags, whatever it is you drink.
Yeah.
Get those things.
Yeah. We had just had a bunch of stuff go through the chat. So last time I did a live, I had a bunch of Russian bots that had Russian, Spanish, and Chinese symbols all mixed together. I guess this time was the prostitutes or whatnot.
I have a
But
bot every now and then. Like if I schedule something and it's a week or two out, like I've noticed they'll pick up on that and like they'll be there. But if I do an impromptu, I usually don't have any bots. Of course, I'm still small channel.
yeah, well, we're not super big channels, but I guess, but yeah, and there are folks in the chat. Hold on a second here. I've seen a lot of prepper channels start putting on, and that's where we were going is, and I've said it before in my lives, watch the corporations and the companies because they have entire divisions dedicated to watching what's going on. And
Yeah.
when these folks who do this for a living, I mean, you and I don't do this professionally per se, they suddenly go, whoa, wait a minute, that's bad stuff. Wait, everyone on TikTok are getting paid 600 to Mosa. That's true. It there's a lot of people not paying attention, but so if someone's looking, and you were right, I mean, I totally agree, the small mini preps, micro prepping, whatever you want to call it, getting those extra 2 cans and putting them somewhere else, it makes a huge difference. So what modes, like when you were in the apartment, I guess you weren't doing any kind of prepping at that time, were you?
I was not. I was not.
But you are now. So you're doing the
Um,
dry canning, you using any Mylar bags, or you hadn't really messed with those at all?
yes, yes, I do the 5 gallon buckets, the food grade, or you don't. If you're doing Mylar, you don't really have to get the food grade. I'll do the Lowe's bucket or something. And your dry goods, your rice, your flour.
Mhm.
Uh, be sure you get both kinds of flour, self-rising and all-purpose. Just
Right.
good to have both. Sugar, anything you can't grow, anything you can't replicate. If it's something you're gonna have to go. Even back in the old days, people had to go to town once a month or whatever just to get flour and sugar and things like that. So think about the things that you can't grow or that won't grow here where we live, and try to think about ways how you can stack that type of stuff too.
Yeah. So do you have any guidelines how much food per person, or you just kind of, this is a sale, I'm going to grab what I can, divvy it up, and kind of off you go at this point?
Absolutely. I'm just one person. I live here with 2 dogs, so I'm used to prepping for one person. But you just think about when you're using your canned goods, think about how far it goes with your family. That's something you'll just have to think about and try to prepare the best you can.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to have the money to go out and get exactly what they need, but you got to start somewhere. That's the main point.
Yeah. And actually, a good place to start for anyone who's new in the chat is you go to ready.gov for the hurricanes or the tornado box. I don't know what they call it, hurricane box. And it's really simple. I mean, it gets you through a 3-day weekend. But that's an awesome place to start just to get an idea of what you need. So what would you also, looking at what's happening, what would you when do you think, let me rephrase that, when do you think we might really start seeing those spikes that everyone's afraid of in the food and stuff like that? I don't think it's hit us yet.
I don't think it's hit us yet. Perhaps either this fall or, I don't know that, I don't claim to be a prophet, but, I feel like it's coming soon. That's all I can tell you.
I think before end of year, we're going to see something get really ugly. And being an election year, it's even worse because people are all uptight on top of everything else.
Yes.
Which actually, next subject, which I guess we can kind of spin into that, is have you had any local incidents of people getting mugged for their groceries? I've heard rumors, but I could never find an article. And LA is a mess. It's a complete show over there. So
not in my area here where I live. Where I live is 16 miles from the closest store.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of out here in the boonies. But there have been instances where people have put things on people's windshield wipers, and then they're waiting until the person goes. They get in, they crank the car, and then they see it under the windshield wiper. So they'll leave the car running, get out to move, and then that's when they attack. I've had people tell me about things like that. So if you find something on your windshield or under your wiper, get in the car and leave. You can take it off later. Pull into your nearest police station and pull it off there. They're trying to find ways to divert your attention. So they're being very crafty on that.
Yeah, that's a good one actually. The putting junk on the windshield, especially when it's dark. I mean, if it's a whole parking lot in the middle of the day and everyone has the go to Joe's Pizza, it's probably not a thing. But at night, if someone's out there in the dark putting doggone flyers on cars, that's not right. Something's wrong there.
Yeah.
So and see that brings up the question, if you don't prep now, I guess, what would you think it's going to be like, say 3 months from now? It starts getting ugly, trying to get to a Walmart to get that baby formula or get milk or something.
You may have to fight your way in there to get it and then fight your way out.
Yeah.
It's going to be ugly, I'm telling you. It really is. If you're not prepping now, I don't know what to tell you. Wake up and start prepping now. It's because if you don't, it's not going to end well. I'm just
no. And
trying to be nice.
So the laws out by you, are you constitutional carry license?
Yes, we're
Okay.
constitutional carry here
For
in
open
Alabama.
only, or
For both.
oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
But you can't leave state lines unless you get the little card.
Well, yeah. I have the little card. They suckered me into buying another 5-year license, and then we went constitutional carry. I'm like, oh, perfect timing, you know.
Right.
I just paid $75 for another 5 years, but whatever, you know. So yeah, if you've got your little card, if you've got your concealed carry card, most of the states around my state here, they're all the same basically. They'll recognize each other's permits and all that.
Yeah, and that's something people forget is, I have the carry license for Texas because even though I can constitutional carry here, if I'm in Alabama or Georgia, I
Right,
mean, I can almost go across the country without including California, obviously,
obviously.
with my carry permit, but I need that card. So,
Yeah.
yeah, guys, if you do what I do and you go across state lines a lot, you definitely want to, then it's worth spending the money. Uh,
It's been worth it to me in the past. We've traveled to Georgia, and me and my brother-in-law went bass fishing to Georgia, and I didn't even know how the fishing license worked because we were in a lake. It was on state lines, and they were like, if you've got either Alabama or Georgia fishing license, then you're good. I'm like, okay.
yeah.
But yeah, most states around us, there's a word for that. But anyway, I can't forget it. I can't remember.
Reciprocity.
That's it, reciprocity.
I had to think. I was no,
You're
wait a
all
minute.
over
There is a word for that.
it. Yeah.
But you see, Klingon princesses. That's. I hadn't thought of that.
What's she saying?
It's on channel. It's. I keep thinking of the verses in the Bible about woe to pregnant and nursing women in those days. I believe that's the Book of Revelation, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, Homestead Aquarius. They will go to system of control shopping. That would be like what they're
Yeah.
doing in China right now.
Yeah, they're probably going to go to you come in, you get your one of this and your one of that, and that's it. That's all you can have.
Yeah, and we're kind of there now because now the stores have to implement the limit.
Yes.
Uh, so, so you've had people say, "Oh, the preppers are hoarders," and we all know that's not the case. A hoarder just buys stuff and they don't know what they're doing. How do you keep inventory control? Like, do you kind of do like what's your methodology for making sure you don't have something and you forget it and it gets rancid in the back?
You have to institute the first in, first out deal. Write your dates on your cans, even though they're not expiration dates, they're best by dates, but you use those dates to figure out which can was put in there first, and then you pull that one out first. And even that, if you got a large, I mean, like if you got a huge stockpile of stuff, you're going to lose some stuff because you're going to forget a can's going to fall back behind the shelf or whatever, and you're not going to know it's there until it's too late. But that's what you'll have to do is just every month when I go buy my groceries, I have to come in here, I have to write the dates down, and it's like canned good Jenga in here trying to move stuff around so I can get the new can behind all the ones that's been
Yeah,
in there. But you have to do that.
yeah. Otherwise, it'll get out of hand very quickly. And
Yes.
I don't know. Have you had it happen where, like, during the Rona, I was stocking, and it's only two of us now, so I was stocking, and I make chili in the winter, right? And
Mhm.
so I buy certain things for chili, but I don't really make chili when it's 104 outside.
Yeah. No.
So, have you bought anything and then you realize, man, I really don't use this as much as I thought I.
I have not. Actually, everything I buy is something that's I know I use it on a regular basis. Uh, I haven't bought anything that I won't use. Not to this point yet.
No. Yeah, I have had some where I lost a can in the wrong spot, And then I found that it was like a year expired, and I said, that probably a bit much expired at this point.
Mm.
But so
That would make a good video. You should have opened it and put some on video. That would have been
yeah, I probably should have opened it just out of morbid curiosity to see what it was looking like in there.
good. Your sniff test at least anyway.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I won't put it by my dog to sniff because she'll eat everything, which then I'll pay
Right.
for later because it'll
Sure.
eventually come out of the dog.
I know I have a 75-pound German Shepherd. I know all about that. Yeah.
Ooh. And they'll do that green toxic cloud. That's the end of the living room right now.
And
Everyone's
it's like,
outside.
my dogs, they'll fart and stand up and look at you like, what was that? I'm like, you did it. Yeah.
They're like, did you hear that sound behind me? What was that?
Right.
It's another
Like,
dog in the house.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Crazy.
So when you travel, and again, I don't know if you want to mention it, but like for instance, I know when I travel on business, a long pew is not always practical, right? Because I got to be a little more discreet in certain cities. So, I'll go with a sidearm. Have you had opportunity? Do you have different carry and self-defense methodologies depending on where you are? You're not really dealing with that much.
I'm not, I'm legally blind. I don't really, I can't drive legally anymore,
Okay.
but that's because I can't read a stop sign from 1,000. Don't trust me. I can still hit a target. But no, I don't travel very much, and when I do, it's usually just to the store and back or something like that.
So it's all local.
Yeah, we'll ride to Springville or wherever, and then because that's the closest one around here to where I live, and we'll ride to a little town called Springville, Alabama, and buy our groceries and do whatever, pay bills, whatever's got to be done, and just basically come back home.
Come back home.
Yep.
So how about for your pets? I'm actually working on a video prepping for pets, but how are you prepping for, because a German Shepherd can eat some food.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, the apple juice, one of my things I like on a regular basis is apple juice. So I get the apple juice jugs, but they're not exactly a gallon, but a little less.
They're close, yeah.
Those apple juice jugs are made like a tank. I mean, they're just made so well. And so I reuse the apple juice jugs for the pets' water. I've got water bricks and barrels and things for myself, but I'll reuse those apple juice jugs and wash them out, clean them out, and put water in it for the pets. I also do a rotational dry food. I'll buy usually around 50 or 60 pounds of food, dry food, for a month's time, and rotate all that out. I have cat litter buckets. My sister has cats, so she throws away the cat litter buckets. I wash them out real good, bleach them out and everything, and use them for the dog food. And I also have I've got probably 2 or 3 months of canned food stacked up as well.
Okay, and that's a smart idea because the cat litter can be stacked. They make them like that so they can put them in the flatbed trucks. So
yes, I like the stackability of those containers. Yeah.
No, that's a really good idea. And so that's a good methodology, folks, for prepping for your animals. Are you having a hard time finding any the kibble or the dog
canned food? I've noticed here recently, like the last 2 months, the canned food has been hard to find. Now my store, the kibble that I buy is always there. I can't afford like the Acana and the Blue Buffalo. I can't afford that, but I try to buy general, like middle of the road type stuff,
Right.
dog chow. It's always in stock. So as far as the dry dog food, but the canned goods sometimes are hard to get a hold of.
Okay, so you're starting to see, and the prices are going up for you guys as well, huh?
Definitely. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I went to in our town, the bag we normally get had gone up, and when I was driving through Houston and Dallas, those are major train, and well, Houston's a port city as well, but they're train thoroughfares, and that one was about 30% less. So I bought the dog food over there. I
Yeah.
mean, I had to come home to the next day anyway. I just stuck it in the SUV.
And
But
you have to pay attention to your bag size, because I've noticed the bag that I always buy used to be 50 pounds for $20 and some odd cents.
Yeah.
Now it's 48 pounds for $23. I mean, it's both got smaller and went up. So
yeah.
pay attention to that too.
And you're seeing it in other stuff too, right? Bleach,
Yeah.
detergent, all the other household goods.
Shrinkflation. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like we had said earlier, I don't think we've gotten hit yet with the real effect. Because when did Ukraine and Russia get into it? In February? Somewhere around there?
February. Yeah.
Okay, so you figure when does wheat normally get planted? I don't know when one would plant wheat.
I don't know when they planted over there. I have no idea. Normally, April, May, I would figure here.
So you figure some crop got disrupted over there. So the crop will take what, 5-6 months to be harvested, processed, make flour or pasta or whatever, and then go to the market. So shoot, we might see this right around election day. That'll be awesome.
You have to think that's even if they have access to the ports for them to ship that stuff out. They've got to have access to their ports. So if Russia has all the ports covered, well, there'll be nothing leaving.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that lack of product, the product that's being grown and harvested now, is what we're all going to eat in November, December. But it's not getting planted now.
Right.
Or people are cutting back. Even like you were saying, the local farms here in the U.S. and Canada and Mexico, they're not planting as much because it's too expensive.
Right.
So we're gonna. It's almost like
not only, like I was saying earlier, not only has fertilizer gone up, any of your weed, like if you're spraying some kind of not pesticide, but herbicide, when you plant big, huge crops of fields of crops, you have to deal with the weeds and all that. Everything has gone up. Fuel's gone up. Fertilizer's gone up. Herbicides have gone up, and that's just 3 that I can think of right now.
Yeah, and that's interesting what Klingon Princess said, that her pet food is getting so expensive she might cut it with rice.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a good way to do it, because that won't hurt the animals for sure.
Right.
That so-called wheat belt is 3%. Yeah, so it's and that's really going to hurt the small countries.
This like your small third world countries is really gonna hit. It's gonna hit them. It's gonna hit us hard. Don't get me wrong, but it's gonna hit them twice as hard.
Yeah, and then that's gonna lead to other issues. So I don't know. Did you notice Iran was having riots in the street?
I did not know that.
I saw that a few days ago, and I didn't get to go back to it because work called. But there's some of the countries, India, Iran, some of those smaller countries or the developing countries are starting to already have riots.
Wow.
So that's that's really bad. So what would you tell folks, for instance, okay, they started now, they're doing those baby preps. Where else can they go besides a store? Where would you recommend, hey, look, if you can't find what you need at the store, this is where you should try to check? Any thoughts?
Talk to your local. If you have a local farmers market, get in. You're gonna find a lot of like-minded people at farmers markets and places like that, because you're gonna find people who are also prepping whatever. Look at the farmers markets. Look at I would say, like, we don't have any down here where I live, but if you have like Mennonite stores, Amish, look at those types of places as well. Discount places, bent and dent type places, whatever you can find, to find
Yeah,
something
that's
cheaper.
good. I hadn't thought of an Amish market. Tennessee
Yeah,
Tactical said restaurant supply companies might have some
yeah,
goods as well.
that's a good one as well.
Um,
Yes.
and actually, out here during the Rona, some of the restaurants to keep money coming in, because the supply chain got all screwed up then too. There's a place out in this part of Texas called Rosa's Tacos. It's a chain. It's a family chain, and they were offering to sell the chub, the tube of meat, or you could
Sure.
get the number 10 can of beans direct from them. They'd mark it up. So I guess you could check with local restaurants, like Tennessee was recommending the supply company itself,
Your
or
your Latter Day Saints canneries. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm hearing that they're out on a lot of stuff right now, but keep a check in with them as well.
Yeah. And so somebody put the Amish market, which you had mentioned. So yeah, those are a lot of good ways to kind of supplement.
And hey, if you have a farmer that's living across the street, go over and talk to him.
Mhm.
Uh, you know.
Yeah, and definitely if you're gonna plant, do a little homework because like Farmer Son just told us, you'll have a very high failure rate, especially when you first start.
I am
So
in seed trying to get seeds germinated. Yeah, I'm having a high failure rate.
yeah. So and you're subject to nature when they're outdoors too. So
Well, you got, rabbits could come and eat all your carrot tops off, or, you
yeah.
deer, cows, whatever.
But well, yeah, there's a lot going on, and like we were saying earlier, when the economic channels, people like Glenn Beck and Economic Ninja and Fidelity and Edward Jones, all these investment companies are kind of saying, well, you may want to have a little cash at home, and there's something going on
Uh-huh.
when it's not just the YouTube community, it's financial because they can't lie, right? If they lie and somebody loses $1 million, they're going to get investigated by the IRS, right? So that
Yeah.
by default, they tend to want to be straightforward. So, what do you think it'll be like? Because you're in the country, I'm in a city, but it's a small city in the country. What do you think it's going to be like for our friends like Jason over in New York City, or down in LA and San Francisco, man, if those prices really get to where it's difficult to feed folks?
Look for civil unrest to go up. People are going to be scrounging. People are going to be desperate.
Hmm.
Uh, I look. I used to work at Walmart back when I was able to go and work. I've seen grandmas scrapping in the Christmas section over the last remote control Hummer or whatever. I'm talking about scrapping, fist fighting over Christmas
Oh,
gifts for the kids. If they're willing to do that over a toy, imagine what it's going to be like when all these people are starving and don't have nothing to eat.
yeah.
It's going to be times 10. I'm telling
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think a lot of people think, oh, they'll put soldiers in the street. I don't think you have the National Guard is made up of folks like us who, work or farm or, do business for a living.
you.
I don't know if you have enough footprint in the National Guard to, well, you'd wind up
Well,
doing martial law in the cities.
don't depend on the police and don't depend on the ambulances because okay, when that type of stuff breaks out, they're typically covered up.
Yeah.
So they're going to be covered up. Uh, so there may not be anybody there to help you. Uh, be prepared. Do what you have to do. Stay strapped. Whatever it is. I don't care if you have to get a baseball bat. Have some way to protect yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, and I guess you also need to psychologically be with that. Auslander, he says, "Oh, those people," he put in quotes, "will without any hesitation take a mark and agree to anything for easy access." So
Yeah.
that'll be
Yeah.
another way to control folks, which is, I guess, a whole nother rabbit trail we can go down.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
And but yeah, it's going to be it could get ugly toward the end of the year if they don't get a handle on this. Uh, so, folks, I'm going to open it up to the chat. Do y'all have any questions for either of us? We got to give them a few minutes while there's a delay in the video. If you have any questions for either of us that y'all want to kind of throw out there, and while you have us both here, we've been talking a lot about food prepping and gardening. And actually, it's funny, before you and I came on live, I went in the backyard because we're in a subdivision, so you have a little yard. And
Sure.
I started marking out because we don't have kids, so there's no playground. I'm like, I bet I can put a couple of raised gardens right here.
Oh, yeah.
And I bet that would add value. The next family come in here and go, oh, we have a garden.
Right.
But okay, I got one from Klingon Princess. It's a comment, really. She said, I read a news article that Seattle policemen aren't investigating rapes anymore. Wow. My kid lives there currently. And breaking news, she's moving home. Smart kid.
Alaska Prepper had a video up today earlier about 2 or 3 policemen sit there and watched a guy drown and didn't even
he was
offer to.
drowning, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay, here's a question. Creative redundancy. Thanks for the
Yeah,
question. Do you expect or think we will get more power outages, brownouts this year? What do you think?
I think so, because they're already talking about it.
Yeah.
They're already that NERC or whatever it is. They're already putting out warnings about that. So
Yeah.
if they're warning that it could happen, I would be planning for it to happen.
Yep. Are you? Did you get a notice from your electrical provider or the grid provider saying, "Hey, we may have brownouts this year"?
Nope, I have not. Not as of yet.
Okay, we did, and I went to a convention recently, and they had a guy talk. It was a grid engineer, and he mentioned that during when the 6 power stations went down in Texas, which by the way was human stupidity. It was maintenance was misscheduled, and all 6 started at the same time. They had solar capacity because it was hot out here, but they couldn't put it to the grid because they don't have the transmission lines to do it. So I bet we're going to see that too, where you have power available but no lines to bring it.
Yeah, I would not doubt that.
Oh, we got a gardening question for you. From the color drop, do you get squash bugs? We are battling this year.
I haven't seen any as of yet, and I basically I go out there and I do my watering in the morning, and I'll do watering in the evening. So I'm really putting the eye on them like twice a day. But no, I have not seen any here in Alabama.
How would you remove squash bugs? I've never dealt with that before.
We've always used 7 dust. I know people don't like chemicals and all that. I've heard stuff like just flour would work, but I don't know. Do your own research on that.
I use 7 dust on fire ants. That work like a charm.
Yes.
But okay, Homestead Aquarius. Oh, well, that's a comment. Pain and disappointment will be on the shelves soon.
Yeah.
And okay, so Lucky Dame said, I got squash borers last year, pain in the butt. So yeah, let's see. You've been hearing there are no repair parts for the grid. We are. Yeah.
I can speak to that a little bit. I ordered parts for my ATV around the 1st of May, and they finally got here like yesterday or the day before yesterday. Yeah. So if you need a part, definitely at least go ahead and get them ordered because you don't know how long you're going to be waiting.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Not just parts for the grids, vehicles, lawnmowers,
lawnmowers, ATVs, generators, whatever it is you use or plan on using. Tires. I'm also hearing here in my area people are going to get new tires for their vehicle, and they're being told, "We'll take your money and take your order, but it's going to be weeks before they get here."
Yeah. And that's going to get worse, not just with supply chain and costs, but just the availability.
Yes.
Jason recommended the Automataceous, I don't think I pronounced that right, Earth.
Diabetes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is great for most insects, including mites, if you're going to go for organic.
Yeah.
And silica is great for the garden. Okay. That's good stuff. Joe Morgan, my cousin Larry builds transformers for a power company. They have plenty put back, but only it's for emergencies, really. So hurricanes, floods, stuff like that.
Well,
So,
that
folks,
makes me feel a little bit better knowing that.
yeah,
So.
yeah, and us look at Texas and the power grid. The government was not prepared for the slightest short-term minor natural disasters. And what's funny is we get hit by hurricanes every other year, and they've done a really good job of bringing the grid back up. But when everything went down across the state at once, they were not.
Yeah, they didn't know what to do first. Yeah.
No, because you figure the hurricanes.
Watching y'all go through that, or watching the whole Texas thing, it happened that February.
Oh,
if it can happen there, it can happen here. I went and bought, -4 sleeping bags and things that I wouldn't have normally got because of that. So.
Yeah. Kentucky Survival said, speaking as a carrier, shipping is an absolute mess right now. Yeah, I can agree with that. So,
and he's got an awesome channel. KY Survival 76 got an awesome channel.
Yeah. So, and folks, those of you who are new, there's a lot of content creators in the chat right now. Lucky's, KY Survival, Arkansas, Color Drop. There are a few others. Creative Redundancy had a little video out today. Oz, Luck. I said Lucky already. Yeah. So definitely. Okay. Creative Redundancy. Another question. What are your top 3 plants for food right now?
My top 3 plan for food right now is what I have on hand, what I can grow, and then seeds.
Sorry, plants.
Oh, plants.
Plants. Sorry.
Reread it. I'm confused.
So, what are your top 3 plants for food right now? I guess which 3 plants are you growing or would recommend growing right now?
What I'm growing is because it's what I eat. I don't eat tomatoes. There's a lot of things I don't eat, so I'm growing corn, squash, and okra. Those are my top
That's
3.
That's a good mix, actually.
I've also got some peppers planted right now, so yeah.
And Kill It and Grill It said, I am listening while I'm driving. Excellent stream. Thank you, Kill It. We appreciate that. Let's see. Trying to see if there are any questions I may have missed. And Lucky's putting the thank you, Lucky. She's putting some of our links in the chat for the various content creators. So, folks, do you have any other questions for us while we're out here kind of chit-chatting? We'll give them a few minutes, but yeah, I did wind up. I'd also recommend folks, if you do carry a pew or you are planning to get training,
yes,
you don't want to figure out how to do it at 2 in the morning when someone's kicking in your door. I have a colleague who's new to the country, and he came from a country that was a bit socialistic. So he was very excited to get his green card. He's going to become a citizen. He did it all the right way, right? And he went and he got his first handgun. And I asked him 2 weeks later, man, did you shoot it? How was it? Did you have fun? He goes, oh, it's still in the box. This was during the riots. I said, no, you need to take it out.
Take that thing to the range, learn everything you can about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, depending on where everybody lives, our sheriff's offices here, they give free concealed carry training classes here in Alabama. So,
Yeah.
contact your LEO, whoever that might be, and ask them if they offer any type of free handgun training. Because some do.
Yeah. And if you can afford the extra cash, take a short class in one of the ranges. Most of them aren't too expensive, 30, 40 bucks. There's some, I mean, you can go up and get some really bougie training, but Lucky has a question for you.
Okay.
Okay, so Lucky Dame says, do you have any predictions for the future? Where do you personally see things going, short term or long term?
I'm really not a predictions type of person. Yeah, but short term, I think we're going to be okay. Long term, I just don't know. And it's that just don't know part that really bothers me. And that is what keeps encouraging me to get on my preps and stay on it. So
Yeah. And the worst thing is, at least you Lucky said it. Haha, fair enough.
yeah,
But truthfully, folks, it's in the midterm when the economists are saying, "Hey, it's going to get really snarky here," because they're raising interest rates. They're trying to keep the inflation down, but now they're starting to break things on the side.
yeah.
So, yeah, it could get rough. So, do you have? We're right at a little over an hour, Farmer Son. So, just so we don't keep everyone too long, do you have any final recommendations for anybody when they wake up tomorrow and they're like, okay, I'm ready to do something? What would you suggest they do?
Try to think about every area of your home. Like we were talking about the power being out. Try to think about securing your home better. Also, think about things like if you have to open windows, do you have all your screens? Do you have a couple of screen doors? You're gonna want some airflow in that house. I'm telling you. So think out of the box on things. Uh, think not only food, but think hardening or whatever. Think about all of it, not
Yeah.
just one area.
And like you said earlier, don't get overwhelmed. Pick,
Yeah.
and you have a budget, so pick your subject for the weekend and say, okay, this weekend I'm going to go get screen kits and put screens, at least a few screens on the house so I can open the window if the power goes out. Or this weekend I'm going to go inventory my canned foods. Don't make yourself crazy. You'll have a heart attack. Just pick your battle, so to say.
And learn some skills. Joe was he's always talking about that, but he's right. Learn some skills, learn how to make a fire, see what it's like trying to build a fire in the rain, that type of stuff. Skills, you will need them. Firearm skills, whatever, trapping, that's on you which ones you choose to learn, but you need to learn some.
Yeah. And don't forget hand tools. Because
yes.
we like our power tools, but when they go out, you may have to go old school and get that hammer and that manual. Remember that shop drill that you had to crank?
Yeah.
God, I hated that thing.
Over here on the shelf somewhere.
Yeah, I probably need to go buy a new one. But, well, folks, that I guess there's no more questions. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Thank you, Farmer Son, for being here. I learned a lot, man. Thank you for sharing with that.
No
Anyone
problem.
else? Any other questions? I guess I don't think I missed any. So I have an egg beater drill. Okay, yeah, that's what they're called.
Yeah.
So, well, folks, we're gonna cut it. We're gonna call it here. But thank you so much for joining the two of us. And again, make sure you check out Farmer Son Prepping channel. Make sure you comment, throw likes, and all that stuff. If you have any questions about this live, you can put them in the comments, and we'll keep an eye on them and come back later to answer them if we can. Thank you all, and y'all be safe out there. It's not, it's gonna get ugly, y'all, and so
Yeah.
we need to keep ahead of it.
Keep your beak out of your phone, especially if you're shopping or walking to the car. Lay an eyeball on everybody. Let them know, hey, I see you. You know.
Yeah,
Be sure to.
situational awareness, big time.
Yeah.
All right, folks, until next time, God bless, Godspeed, and we will see you all, I guess, at the whatever next live we have. All right, take care, everyone.
All right.